Two senators want answers after the SEC dropped Justin Sun's case in its enforcement chief. Quit Senator Richard Blumenthal sent a letter to SEC Chair Paul Atkins on March 30th, requesting all records and communications between the agency's enforcement division and senior leadership since January 20, 2025. Senator Elizabeth Warren followed with a separate letter pressing Atkins on the same resignation and what she called a pattern of enforcement collapse. The catalyst, Enforcement Director Margaret Ryan resigned on March 16th after just 6 months on the job, and the agency had already dismissed or settled several high-profile crypto cases in the weeks before her exit. A 6-month tenure that ended in conflict. Ryan, a former federal judge, took over the SEC's enforcement division in late 2025. According to a Reuters report published March 23rd, she clashed repeatedly with Chair Atkins and other political appointees over how aggressively to pursue cases touching people in President Trump's orbit. Two names kept surfacing: Justin Sun and Elon Musk. Ryan wanted to push forward. Leadership wanted to pull back. She resigned. The SEC's own press release confirmed the departure and named Sam Walden as acting director, but offered no explanation for why Ryan left after such a short tenure. The Justin Sun settlement. The SEC had been pursuing fraud charges against Tron founder Justin Sun. In early March, roughly 11 days before Ryan resigned, the agency settled. One of Sun's companies paid $10 million without admitting or denying the SEC's findings. The remaining charges were dismissed. Sun is not just any crypto figure. He is a partner in World Liberty Financial, the Trump family's crypto venture. WLFI was co-founded by Zach Witkoff, and its founding members include Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr., and Barron Trump. The proximity between Sun's legal resolution and his business ties to the president's family is the core of Blumenthal's concern. In his letter, Blumenthal wrote that the SEC may have exercised preferential treatment for financial partners of President Trump. He cited Chainalysis data showing illicit crypto activity reached $154 billion in 2025, with 58% of all illicit finance flowing through Tron's network in 2024. Coinbase, Binance, and the broader pullback Sun's case was not isolated. Blumenthal's letter also references enforcement actions against Coinbase and Binance that were paused or dismissed under the current SEC leadership. The pattern, as Blumenthal frames it, is a systematic retreat from crypto enforcement that coincides with the administration's public embrace of the industry. Warren's letter focused on the absence of enforcement data. She pressed Atkins on why the SEC has not published standard enforcement metrics since the new leadership took over, and whether the agency's pipeline of active investigations has shrunk. The CZ pardon adds another layer. Trump pardoned former Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao in October 2025, a move that drew immediate criticism about whether it signaled a new posture toward crypto enforcement. Whether the pardon influenced ongoing SEC decisions is speculative, but it is part of the context both senators are building. What the senators want Blumenthal's request is specific. He wants all communications between the Division of Enforcement and senior SEC leadership regarding crypto-related cases. All records where enforcement recommendations were overruled by senior officials, and all communications involving the Trump family and World Liberty Financial. The scope runs from January 20, 2025, the start of the current administration, to present. Warren's letter asks a slightly different question: whether the SEC even has the capacity to enforce anymore. She wants enforcement staffing numbers, case pipeline data, and an explanation for why standard transparency reports have gone dark. Neither letter carries subpoena power on its own. Both senators sit in the minority. But the letters create a public record and could form the basis for a formal investigation if committee leadership or the Inspector General picks up the thread. Where this leaves the market, the immediate market reaction has been muted. BTC traded at 67,653, 0.8%, ETH at 2,067, 1.6%, and BNB at 613, 0.3% as of March 31, 2026. The Fear and Greed Index sat at 28, firmly in fear territory, driven more by macro headwinds than SEC politics. But the longer-term signal matters for crypto users. A weakened SEC enforcement posture could mean fewer consumer protections in an industry where fraud remains a $154 billion annual problem. It could also mean more regulatory whiplash if a future administration reverses course and launches aggressive retroactive enforcement. For crypto card holders specifically, enforcement patterns at the SEC affect which exchanges and issuers remain operational in the U.S. Coinbase and Binance both issue spending cards tied to their platforms. If enforcement actions are paused now but resumed later under different leadership, the operational continuity of these platforms becomes a real consideration for users who depend on them for daily spending.